Common problems in Gaelic Castle. You're playing this with the beginning orchestra, but you don't want them to sound like beginners. You don't want them to make the same mistakes that all the other beginning orchestras play. So in this video, I'm going to try to give you some strategies on how to not fall into those same traps so they don't sound like beginners, they sound like second or third year students. So right here from the beginning, a lot of times students get way too aggressive with this and the double stops are just too loud. But are they double stops? I mean, it says divisi here when the cello line starts to get fingered, but there's nothing really here that indicates. It just says play open strings, and maybe play open strings because she wants it to simulate bagpipes, but there's nothing that says non-divisi. So if it's too loud, maybe just have them play divisi, you know. Inside players play D, outside players play A. The other issue is that sometimes our inner voices are not playing loud enough and they're just getting dominated. So if we're able to control the volume of our double stops here, can we increase the dynamic levels of our second violins and violas? Sometimes orchestra directors stack their first violin sections, and so they don't really have any strong players in their second violins, and I think that's probably a mistake. So maybe think about putting some leaders in your second violins too so they can play out a little bit more. The other thing is that some students may not understand bowing lane yet, you know, where to play. Should they play close to the fingerboard? Should they play close to the bridge? And if you've got a bunch of people sliding all over the fingerboard, you're not going to be able to hear them very well. So check out my video in Season 1, Episode 8 on balance and blend. It might be a little advanced for beginning students, but you can just tell them, hey, play closer to the bridge there and see if they can do that. All right, so the next problem that we have are these C's on the G strings. And we get them here, which are much easier when we're going from G, C, A, but when we have D to C to E with these string crossings, sometimes we have an issue because we're crossing strings with the left hand and the right hand. We can get our teeter-totters and figure out how to cross strings with the right hand, but we also have to cross strings with the left hand. So do we have good setups? You know, our necks kind of sliding over here because that's going to make it really hard for us to play on the G string. Okay, are we able to get that flexibility to tuck that elbow underneath? Okay, if not, check out Season 1, Episode 2. I've got a demonstration video on elbow swings. It's an old Suzuki exercise just to kind of help students develop that flexibility so they can keep their left hand shape and they can have a fighting chance at least to play those C's in tune on the G string. The next thing that I hear a lot are the F sharps. The F sharps are a lot of times too low. And that's why in the teaching companion, I start every teaching companion with finger patterns because number one, I need to make sure that the students are playing with tone. Students have to have good tone before they can have good intonation. So that's why I have them play long bows, and then I do it again and have them speed up a little bit, and I put some time pressure on them to see if they can match pitch in a timely manner. If that doesn't work, you know, check out Season 1, Episode 3. I've got some other ideas on how to get your students to play in tune, how they can slide into pitch. They can do all kinds of things to help train their ears and develop that culture of tuning. Is it a physical problem why they can't play in tune? Is it their wrists up here or their bows sliding, they're not able to create tone? Or is it a cultural problem? The group hasn't decided as a group, oh, this is what an in-tune sound is, and anything out of that is devious. So we're going to hold everybody accountable to our culture of tuning. We also have some C sharps on the A string every now and again in measure 20. And so these high twos are not exclusive to the D string. All of the patterns in here are major patterns. When we do have C's on the G string, they're C naturals, which makes it easier for us, but we do need to play those major patterns in tune. The other problem with this section here in 20, we've got C naturals up here in 22, and then 24, and then 26. This whole section comes back, but in the low strings here at 35. So the B theme is only the upper strings get to play it once through, and then the lower strings play it. But we don't have a lot of repetition, and so a lot of the times in the B themes and when these themes aren't repeated, they get neglected, and that's why a lot of times the F sharps are fairly well in tune, but the C sharps are lacking. We do have some bow lifts here. We've got some in the first violins. Everybody's got a bow lift here in 26. And a lot of times our bow lifts aren't clean, and sometimes they cause us to rush. And after a bow lift, you know, like from 26 to 27, some students don't lift correctly using the correct technique, and they start taking off. So in the teaching companion, I've got a couple of exercises just to help with bow lifts so that we play, lift, set, grip, and then we put some time pressure on it. So we have to play, lift and set in the quarter rest, and then play all down bows. And these exercises will help us recover quickly, but then also not skip steps so that we're setting and gripping, not just lifting and playing like we're windmilling into it, okay? We have to prepare the next note. So a lot of times we get to the end and things are going pretty well. Students are making great tone, and then we got this spot in measure 60 where we get up onto the E string. Some students are gonna play this open E too, and that's gonna be a problem, but some of them are gonna play fourth finger E's, and then that first finger F sharp on the E string is just gross, you know? We have sol, do, re, splat. You know, it happens. So are we using great tone on the E string? Do we understand how to drop the elbow? Are our setups correct? There's a lot of things that can affect E string tone, and we want our students to work on E string tone, and we want that F sharp to be an accountability measure for our first violins to make great tone on the E string. And if we're gonna play open E2, hey, that's even more accountability to try and make that open E sound great and not just make it sound like ripping metal at measure 60. So if you need some help on how to get your students to sound great on the E string, you know, check out season 1, episode 5 on the YouTube channel, and I've got some tips there on how to make your students sound good. The next common problem that we sometimes have is on the very last note. A lot of times we come down here and then we play the first note nice and long, and the second note is short for some reason. It's supposed to be a half note. It's not quarter note, quarter rest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, off on 1. You wouldn't believe how many times I listen to an orchestra play and they play the last note staccato, or they cut the last note off. Play it full value, you know, have a good ending. If Miss Newbold wanted a staccato note, she could have written it staccato. If she wanted it to be quarter rest at the end, she would have written a quarter rest, all right? She's a smart lady, she's very talented, and she would have done that. So let's play it the way she wants it and not some other kind of way. I hope you enjoyed my take on Gaelic Castle. I hope you have some takeaways and some good ideas that you can implement with your orchestras. Hey, if you had some problems with your groups that you can't seem to solve, hey, drop it in the comment section below and we can help you out. We've got a good community here of really smart orchestra teachers that can figure stuff out. Or if you found a problem that I didn't go over and you found a good solution, you can write that in the comment section below too. So we'll see you in the next video.